Mr. Fix-It is here to take on your DIY dilemmas. Text or WhatsApp to 083 3010 103.
Well, it is that time. I've been looking forward to this now since I knew I was covering for the week, because I know there's always huge feedback to our next guest, Brian Cloonan. Good morning.
I'm looking forward to this at all. The only thing is you didn't have to do any prep in advance.
Well, that's true.
Which, in fairness, is exactly the same as myself.
It's
perfect. There was no prep done whatsoever.
The perfect slot.
The listeners really do most of the work for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And already they've been on the case now. You can text and WhatsApp your questions to 083 30 10 103, or you can call us now on 0818 300 103 with some of your queries. So let's go to the first one this morning. Hi Brian, this comes in from Carmel. Our septic tank system had to be completely replaced 2 months ago, but we are getting a horrible smell up the shower drains. The contractor says it will right itself, but the smell is really bad despite pouring bleach, etc. down the drain. Can you suggest a remedy, please?
Well, the very first thing is never use bleach in your shower drain if you have a septic tank.
Okay.
So the way a septic tank works is that all the horrible stuff that comes from your house, from your shower and from your toilet or whatever, goes down. Well, it depends on the system. Sometimes you have what's known as grey water going some direction and brown water going another direction. But so check out where your water runs. But if the water from the shower runs to the septic tank, you really should be trying not to use bleach.
Okay.
So the way the septic tank works is everything goes down into the septic tank, and then bacteria eat it away and transform it from solids into liquids that'll effectively leach away out through the system. So I would say it's probably coincidental, because I don't see how the septic tank being redone would affect the shower in the normal way. So in every wash hand basin, kitchen sink, shower, bath, everything like that in your house, you have what's known as the trap. So you know when you're looking under your sink and you have the P trap or the S trap. And the reason for that trap is it traps water. That's the only purpose of it is to hold some water. And if there's no water in the trap, the smell will come directly from the sewerage. It's horrendous.
Right.
And sometimes you get a scene where two regular occurrences, we'd have customers come into us, or listeners would phone in, and one would be where they'd come in and they'd say, we've an ensuite at home and the smell is horrendous. And I'd say, is it an ensuite in a spare bedroom that's never used? And they go, as if I'm what's his name?
Have you the camera on?
Yeah, exactly. And the reason is the water has evaporated out of the trap, and there's no water in the trap to stop the smell from coming back up.
Oh, okay.
So that's not the case in this case, by the sound of it. So the other thing that happens sometimes is if you have a partial blockage in a pipe, well, what happens then is that the water goes out with a big whoosh, and it actually pulls the water out of the trap. And it's like this happens sometimes in toilets, where people put in a huge amount of toilet paper and then they flush, and it's getting it hard to flush away, and then suddenly with a big whoosh is the best way to describe it, all the water goes, but all the water leaves the toilet, and then the smell coming up is just horrific.
Yeah.
So I would say the first thing you do is just put down some strong drainer blocker. The strongest of them will be sulfuric acid based, but otherwise just use a caustic soda or sodium hydroxide based. So the strong one, which is the acid based one, which in a shower is very good because it actually breaks down hair. Nothing else breaks down hair, really, except the sulfuric acid one. But it's very dangerous. It has to be used very carefully. So ask questions when you're buying it and follow the instructions. That's only left down for 2 hours. And then the caustic soda one, the more normal one, you leave all night. But no matter what you do, you always flush. So flush means not just turn on the shower or in a sink, not just turn on the tap. It means fill up the shower tray right to the top.
Oh, right.
And then pull it, block it.
Yeah.
Put a face cloth, whatever over it, block it, fill it up, and let it flush out. So, and the best way to describe why you're doing that, the best way to describe why you're doing that is if you put a lot of toilet paper into a toilet bowl and got your garden hose or your shower head and kept putting water into it, it'll never flush. So you've broken down everything in the drain, and now you want to wash it away, so you need pressure. And I think that'll take care of the problem.
Now, asking for a friend. That ensuite you mentioned, where it's one that's not used regularly, and if you're experiencing something similar there, is it a case of just make sure you give that shower a regular run?
Yes, so just put water in it regularly, and just put something over the top. Put a stopper. You can buy little a multi-stopper, it's called. It fits all sizes: wash and basin, shower, kitchen sink, and it just sits flat on top. So it's not the ideal stopper in that if you had a sink full of water and you use that stopper, it could eventually, a little bit might get out overnight. But for stopping evaporation, absolutely. But really anything. You could put a deodorant tin covering the top of the shower opening. It's just to stop the water escaping.
Okay.
But it's escaping upwards, evaporating away.
Okay, great. Well, we're off to a healthy start. I can see the questions are starting to come. I want to give people an opportunity to send them in now. 083 30 10 103, or you can call us on 0818 300 103. Let's take a very quick break. When we come back, more of your questions will be answered. The time now, it's 10:31.
Mr. Fixes with Brian Cloonan. Call 0818 300 103 and put our toolman to the test.
Well, Brian Cloonan is with me in studio this morning, and the questions are coming in now thick and fast on 083 30 10 103 or 0818 300 103 for your calls. And
as opposed to me, who would be thick and slow.
Hey, well, we'll see now by 11.
No, I should have said that about Will, shouldn't I? I should have said that opposed to Will, who would be thick and slow. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. And in Offaly, Brian has a question for you. She said she has wasps or bees in the chimney at the back of the range in the kitchen. They were sprayed before a few times and a crack in the wall was filled. They're back again, need rid for good.
Well, you never really get rid of them for good. Now, funny, this was a very peculiar year. So normally in the shop, so we're kind of a problem-solving shop. So when people have a problem, they come to us. And honest to God, during the normal summer for the last 5 years, there would be not a single day when you wouldn't answer a question about a wasp's nest 5 times a day, every day.
Right.
Yeah, incredible. This year, practically none. So even though we had a remarkably good summer, it just didn't suit the wasps.
Okay.
For whatever reason, I don't know. But so where are they? Are they actually in the chimney? I doubt it. So I'd say they're in a wall cavity somewhere nearby. So what you need to do is have a look tonight. This late in the season, they're going to be dying off anyway. So we always say,
which makes them more dangerous.
Leave them alone if you can.
Yeah.
But they do get more aggressive this time of the year. So look tonight as it gets dark. What does it get dark at now? Around 8 o'clock, 7:30. So walk outside, walk around the house, look up, look down, and just keep looking, and you'll see them returning to base. So they'll be going in somewhere, up high, down low. You won't know it till you look. And then when you identify where they're going in, you can, if you can access it, get a wasp nest powder and just puff it into that hole. They're normally going in through a hole where a pipe comes out, or a cable comes out, or a split in the fascia, a vent. Yeah. You know, it's a hole.
A
they
tiny
go in.
spot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the spray only works if you can see the nest. So if you walk into your shed and there's a wasp nest hanging up high, you can get the wasp nest destroyer foam spray it at it, and it dissolves and kills the entire nest. But when you have a hole in the wall, the wasp nest could be 6 meters away. So they could be going in through this passageway, but they could be travelling down a passageway, the wall cavity, to a spot in the attic, which could be quite a distance away. So the spray is no use for that. But the powder, if you puff the powder into that crack, hole, crevice, whatever it is, 3 nights in a day or night, doesn't matter. But if you do it after dark, if it's safe for you to climb a ladder, if it's up a ladder, you probably shouldn't be climbing a ladder after dark, but they will be asleep. But look, it takes 30 seconds. So I personally would do it, if it's up high, I'd do it in daylight, because it's only going to take you a minute. Just climb up, puff, 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 pop it into it, and they, as they fly in and out, will carry it back into the nest. And alternatively, if you felt they were really genuinely in the chimney, you could put in one of the little bug bombs. So a bug bomb is a thing that gives a vapour that burns for 3 hours, and everything in the room, in this case, the space.
I've used them with flies in an attic. They
work really well. But I don't think it's in the chimney. I think that the chimney is carrying the noise down, because they're near the chimney somewhere, and it's like an acoustic panel that carries it down, an acoustic channel that channels it down. I think that's what's happening there. I don't think they're in the chimney.
Yeah, not the comforting hum of home that you want to have in the evenings.
Well, it's better than the hum that is normally here on a Wednesday morning when I walk into the studio. I didn't have that hum when I walked in today, which is nice.
Glad to hear it. Not a totally unrelated question, and I'm interested in the answer to this too, because this listener says, "Good morning, Brian. Your best customer here with spider spray. Any chance you do anxiety or hypnosis in a can?" Oh my God, how am I going to survive spider season? They're huge.
They are. I think that girl was in with me yesterday, and she said, "I go to ring. What do I do?" So, look, spiders are a real problem this year. I don't know why. Maybe the fine weather just suited them, but there's a lot of big ones around. So there used to be a joke in the hardware trade that nobody in Ireland has ever come into any hardware shop, agri shop, and said, "I saw a small rat today." It's always the biggest rat. It's the size of size of a Jack Russell. It was the size of a golden retriever, nearly, some people say. But we're getting that now with spiders.
We were watching something on Netflix the weekend before last, sitting in the sit room, eye line on the TV, and in the corner of my eye, my right eye, I saw something move up behind the curtain on the window, and I hopped up, and it was huge.
And how do you...
I better not go there now, because people will be giving out to me. People have different opinions on how this should be treated, but it was dealt with. That's all I'll say.
Okay. So look, as always, I never like if I'm in the shop and somebody has a problem with spiders and somebody else, another customer starts kind of poo-pooing it or making little of it. We all have things that give us the heebie-jeebies. Yeah. And, I remember one time many years ago in the shop, a guy, and there was a girl in about a mouse, and she was talking about leaving the house because she'd mice in the house, and he was laughing at it. But I happened to know from a previous conversation, he had the heebie-jeebies over spiders. Yeah. And so, we all have something. So for them, the best thing is, I think, keep them out. So you can use the bug bomb to kill them if they're in there. But I would say just treat the windows and the doors and anywhere a pipe comes out through the wall. So they're coming in for the heat. It's cold outside. I want to come in somewhere warm to breathe.
Same as us all.
To breathe.
Yeah, I want to be in the warm.
Yeah. So
what are you putting on the windows?
So you're getting a thing, there's loads, there's a few different ones. Insectrol, Deathlac, Power something, I can't think of the Powers, won't come to me. But you're looking for the word residual. Okay. So most insecticidal sprays, fly sprays, spider sprays, they kill them on contact. But the way this works is it lasts for months. If they crawl over it, they die. Now, I suppose, look, first things first, you could rub peppermint oil all around your windows. I just don't know how long it lasts. But that doesn't kill them, it just discourages them. And I'm just not sure how effective that is. So the likes of the Insectrol last for months. If they crawl over it, they die. And what you normally do is open the window, spray it all around the window, look at your vents, look at your pipe work, cable work, and then door saddles. Anywhere you feel they're likely to come in. So the cracks in the windows will always be worse the opposite side to the hinge. So the bottom, so you open a window, you have obviously the bottom, say it's hinged on the left-hand side, and you open the window out. So you have the bottom, you have the right-hand side, and you have the top. They'll rarely come in through the top, but they could. Usually the hinge side is so tight, they won't get in. The most important bit is the bottom and the side. But there's plenty in the spray, and it lasts for months. That's what I personally would use, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting horrendous.
Yeah, I can see it. You should see the look on her face.
Yeah,
I shouldn't have asked.
And that listener that texted in that question said the same thing happened to them. It was in the sitting room and they haven't gone back in since.
Actually, she said I've given over. She said that yesterday in the shop. She said, I've given over the sitting room to the spider.
Well, I have gone back in because it's kind of my working office as well. But I have to say, I have an eye line to those curtains now for sure. This listener says, I need your help. I had a leak behind the washing machine. There's black on the wall. You can also see where the wall is damp. I got the leak sorted, but is there anything I can do about the wall? Would it be okay to paint over it?
No, you definitely can't paint over it. So because it was damp for a while, mould has started to grow. So you need to kill that mould. So you just need to get a fungicidal solution and mix it according to the instructions. So the most popular one that I would know, most effective one I know of is one called Sandtrax. I think, yeah, Sand, S-A-N-D. Anyway, Sandtrax. mold killer, and you mix it 5-1 and you put it on and you leave it for 24 hours. And always do a bigger area. So the rule of thumb would be, I know it's bigger in this case, but if you had a tennis ball patch on your wall of black mold, it would be a basketball size at least, invisible spores the whole way around. So treat a bigger area, leave it 24 hours, and now all the mold is dead. And now you can wash it off and give it a good scrub. And if it doesn't all come off, if you just can't get rid of the black, it's dead, it's harmless, but you have to use a stain block before you paint over it. Now, the hope would be it'll all come off. If it doesn't, just get a very small tin of stain block and give it 2 coats of a stain block paint. Loads of different brands out there. Go for a water-based one, it'll be easier to use. And then you can paint in the normal way. But when you're finished painting, or even if you don't need to paint, well, it does sound in this case, the listener does need to paint. But if you didn't need to paint, what you would do is you would mix a second dose of it. You'd mix a 3-to-1 mix and you'd reapply it. It's like water. It's clear. You won't even know it's there. You put it in a sponge and just rub it over the wall. And what you've done there, in the same way as if you had a lot of weeds in your garden or in your shrub beds, you'd spray off all the weeds. That's putting on the mold killer in the wall. You'd leave the weeds to dry, and then you get a rake and you'd rake them all off. You're just washing the wall. That's what you're doing. But then to stop any more weeds from growing, you'd put on a preventative. So by putting on the 3-to-1 mix of mold killer, that stops the mold from coming back.
Yeah, and hopefully you won't have to do it again. Okay.
Exactly.
Liam, I'll get this one in before we take a break. We have a single-storey extension with 3 Velux windows and bifold on a pitched tiled roof. It's only 4 years since it was built, but it has an occasional internal leak when it rains heavily. There is no obvious signs of any damage or cracked tiles from the outside, so that's good. But when it rains, it shows signs of damp around the top edge of the bifold windows, but I suspect it's coming in higher up and running down to that point. Any help appreciated?
Oh, this is to be honest with you, if you ask any tradesman to look at that, he'll run. And the reason is just that. It's so hard to pinpoint. Leaks always present at the lowest point. And I had a very similar problem, and I asked people to look at it and they just didn't want to know. And then I realised it's because obviously their time costs money and you're going to pay someone to look at it. And if they can't guarantee a cure. So the problem is they say, do you know what? I won't do it because I'm going to take money from him and it mightn't work and he's going to give out about me. So you have to start by saying to whoever's going to get to look at it, I understand you may not be able to solve this. Just do your best. And that's all you can say.
But I'm so desperate for help at this stage. I'm texting into my local radio station.
So it's really, it's just looking at all the lead flashing everywhere. That's the most likely place. If there's no damage on the slates or tiles, it's probably at a joint. But you're absolutely spot on. It'll always present at the lowest point, and it could be coming. So if you had, say, if you looked at a roof and the leak is on the top right, it could genuinely present in the bottom left. Because it'll just flow the path of least resistance and it'll follow something. It could be, believe it or not, it could be as simple as a cable that it'll follow down. It'll just run along the cable. It'll come in at one point, run along the cable down to the very bottom. So it's get up high and just a microscopic every square inch of the roof and just see, can you identify where it is?
Yeah, and keep your expectations low. Okay,
yeah, correct.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, Brian will be answering more of your questions.
Mr. Fix-It is here to take on your DIY dilemmas. Text or WhatsApp to 083 3010 103.
And plenty of DIY dilemmas you have by the looks of it. You've all been texting into 083 3010 103. Another question here, this time from Aoife in Tullamore, Brian, if you don't mind. She says, I want to clean dog vomit stains out of a carpet. I have a hand cleaning carpet machine. Any home remedy fixes? Firstly, Aoife, I'm sorry for your trouble.
Yeah, hopefully, more importantly, hopefully the dog's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sally Ann
That's
doesn't care about the
exactly
dog.
what I was thinking.
She only cares about the carpet. Well, look, the first thing always with that is bread soda. Just get some bread soda and pour loads of it on, rub it in, put on gloves if you're squeamish, if you want to be for hygiene, and rub it in really well and leave it overnight or a couple of days even. Like once it's rubbed in, unless it's a really dark carpet, you won't even see it. But leave it at least 24 hours if you can, and then hoover it out. And that'll go a long way towards getting rid of that's there, because the solid stuff that's there will bind to the powder. You can use talcum powder, but the other has an antibacterial aspect to it, the bread soda, believe it or not. So do that, and then by all means use your carpet shampoo afterwards if you want, no problem.
Yeah, and buy something nice for yourself after that too. Another question in here, Paddy from Portlaoise. We have 3 different types of toadstools growing all over our lawns for the last couple of weeks. We've never had them before. What do I do about them?
Yeah, actually, this has been a remarkable few weeks for toadstools. I actually, where I walk our dogs, I counted 15 different varieties. Now, what sort of miserable existence do I have that I started? Now, look,
you need to get a hobby.
In my defence, I walked the same route every time, and it started and I noticed them, and then I said, "Oh God, there's an awful lot of varieties." And then, so by the 5th or 6th day, I said, "Oh, I must count and see how many types there are." So there's so many varieties, and in fact, we had quite a few different varieties at home as well. One area I am absolutely convinced there were mushrooms. There were proper mushrooms. I was 99% certain. Now, the 1% of uncertainty stopped me from frying them in the pan because I think there's something like 30 or 40 poisonous varieties of toadstools in Ireland, so you can't take a chance.
Yeah, we'd be doing a whole other slot here on Midlands.
Exactly. And I think whatever about in the past, we might have taken a chance, but I think ever since the story in Australia, I think we've become even more careful. So usually the mushrooms are growing where there's organic material underneath the ground. So that can be as simple as a branch that got covered in soil. It can be shade. They like darkish areas that are very damp. But there's not a huge amount you can do, except what I would say to Paddy, as soon as you see them, get a bucket or a plastic bag, get a bucket and put on a pair of rubber gloves and try and lift them before they open up. So if you lift them before they open up and release the spores, you're stopping them from sowing more seeds, basically. Now, you could fertilise the lawn with a bit of something, most lawn fertilisers contain nitrogen, and the fungi don't like nitrogen. But a lawn fertiliser that you'd use at this time of the year wouldn't contain nitrogen. So autumn lawn fertilisers don't really contain much nitrogen. So I would say just lift them before the spores are spread. Not too much more you can do than that, I'm afraid. But the fact that he hadn't had it for years would mean I don't remember ever seeing so many different varieties, like tall, thin ones, like a parasol closed down, to big ones. There was ones that were the size of a football, but there were so many, as I said, 15, I think it was, different varieties in the one relatively small space. It was remarkable.
Yeah, there's something wild going on, like even in the course of our conversation, the toadstools, then, you were seeing wasps very little during the summer, and then bigger spiders. What's going on? Very, very quickly and briefly, could you give us a remedy for wood lice coming in underneath the front door? This listener says there's no flowers or potted plants or anything at the front door that she thinks could be drawing them, but there's a problem around the front door. Okay,
so wood lice live on rotting vegetation, so leaves or rotting wood. So just be aware, you could have a little bit of leak, a little bit of water coming somewhere that you're not aware of, in under the door saddle or whatever. Really the best, either the insectol spray that we mentioned earlier for the spiders, or some ant and crawling insect powder, and that's just a white dry powder, and you just puff it in all around the door saddle. I always, if I'm using it, I get a paintbrush. So if you had wood lice in your bathroom or silverfish in your bathroom or your kitchen, you'd puff this all around the edges. You get a paintbrush and you brush it in under the skirting board, under the pedestal of the toilet, under the fridge. They come out at night from under something. So if you puff that powder in, it stays in there. You're not even aware. Like if you get the brush and brush it in where it's not seen, you never need to hoover it out. It'll stay active for months and months and months. And if they crawl over it, they die.
Okay, right. And that won't affect like a timber floor now or anything?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No.
In my defence, before we go, Aoife from Tullamore came back. We were helping her cleaning dog vomit stains out of the carpet. And you had said, you weren't that worried about the dog. She tells me the dog is fine, thank God. Like ye, I was more worried about the dog than the carpet. Thanks, guys. Okay, Aoife, glad we could help.
Like ye, I think, like Brian as opposed to like Sally Ann.
Yeah, that's all we have time for today, folks. Thanks so much, Brian. Local news is on the way next at 11.